On Saturday, I took a 2-2 split with the free plays, giving you Pac-12 easy double-digit wins on Oregon in double revenge against Stanford, and also with Southern Cal on the road against Washington State. Now, the other Pac-12 play on Arizona, of course, the late game last night lost to UCLA. Tough loss for Rich Rod's team. And then the early free pick was a loser with Georgia against Florida. Never thought in a million years Florida could win that game. Did tell you in the free pick that I was a little worried about that Georgia defense that, of course, gave up 38 points in a loss to South Carolina, gave up, I think, 32 points at home against Tennessee. And, of course, that defense didn't come to play yesterday for Mark Recht's team as Florida ran for over 400 yards in that game. Just incredible. But the reason I'm bringing up the free picks, and as you know, the free picks are like what I always say, the best of the worst. Those are the games that I came this close to actually betting, this close to actually making my best bets here on the site. But for one reason or another, I found a little bit of a flaw in them, and that's why they're relegated to free pick status. But as you know, I do exceptionally well with the free picks. But I should, because there's games that I've handicapped all week long that I've done extensive research on. And again, I came this close to actually using them. Now, I bring that up before I get to your Sunday free picks and promos, etc., because the game that I was going to originally use yesterday, the game that I fell in love with last Sunday night, it was going to be TCU. And you remember when I told you yesterday, I was in love with the Horned Frogs. Loved them, minus the 3 to 3.5 points at West Virginia. But then I saw the weather report, and I also gave you guys a word of warning about the weather reports. And when I saw that there was an 80 to 90% chance of rain with some possible snow showers mixed in Morgantown, and then I saw that the gusty winds were going to be 20 to 25, I thought, not the place I want to be taking a TCU team that has played just 2 previous road games, one of which was against SMU, which is like going back to play your high school or junior varsity team, you know. Not the place to take TCU laying the 3 to 3.5 points. And what a game it turned out to be. TCU winning it on the last second field goal, 31-30, to remain very much in the national title picture. You know, it's interesting, guys, because in years past, we always waited to talk about college football after the Saturday games. You dissected them Saturday night, but Sunday the entire focus was on the NFL, and you waited until the polls came out on Monday. Not the case now, especially now with the rankings, because that is all that dominated the conversation going into yesterday's games, coming out of yesterday's games, and it's going to dominate talk today as well, because this is what it's all about. So in one way, the NCAA actually did something cool. They elevated the status of college football even more so, and who would have anticipated that possibly happening? Now, of course, the flip side is who said the NCAA got the damn thing right. You know, I'm looking at last week in Mississippi State, Florida State, Auburn, and Ole Miss were your top 4 teams. And I told you Ole Miss was a fraud. I'm sorry, just because Ole Miss overcame a 14-3 first-half deficit against Alabama and rallied to beat the Tide at home didn't make them worthy, I thought, of being a top 4 team. And going to LSU and losing 10-7 against an LSU team that had been drilled a couple of weeks earlier by Auburn, that hadn't shown you much offensively and is not a vintage LSU defense, that did not impress me either. Yesterday, well, that pretty much was the death knell for Ole Miss when Auburn goes into Oxford and pulls off the win. So listen, you know, I said that last week that I thought the biggest injustice committed by the first week of the rankings when they were released was the low ranking for TCU, which was number 7, because I thought TCU was definitely a top 4 team. So listen, you had Mississippi State win yesterday, unimpressive. You had Florida State win on Thursday night, rallying from the 3-touchdown deficit. Obviously, the number 2 team, they'll stay there. The number 3 team is obviously going to stay Auburn. I don't think Auburn, as much as I love Auburn, I don't know if Auburn's going to be able to stay in these standings. They can afford maybe one more loss, but we look at that brutal schedule they have to close the season. In there is that little game with Alabama, the Iron Bowl to be played as well. So who's the number 4 team? Most of the pundits seems like it's going to be Oregon in this spot, because Oregon, of course, racked up the impressive win against Stanford. A play I gave you the Ducks with yesterday in double revenge, but I told you, Stanford is not the Stanford of past years. You know, when I look at Oregon, I go, this team had to get in a barn burner shootout with California at San Francisco a couple of Friday nights ago. This is a team that lost at home to Arizona. Okay, this is a team that overcame a first-half deficit and beat Michigan State. But this is not a great Oregon team. But people fall in love with Oregon, and it's almost like, hey, they finally beat somebody they were supposed to after blowing it the past couple of years. So we'll probably put them number 4. My money, I would still put TCU up in the number 4 spot, because even though TCU played probably its worst game, well, it did play its worst game of the season yesterday. You go to Morgantown and you win against a much improved Mountaineers team in the elements that you're not accustomed to after making a near 1,500-mile road trip. That's an impressive win. So that would be my number 14, but I think you're probably going to see Oregon at number 5. Alabama and Michigan State, who were number 6 and number 8 last week, did not play, so you wouldn't expect them to get elevated. So it'll be interesting to see if Oregon goes into the number 4 spot. Does Alabama move into number 5? Do they push TCU up to number 6? Do they leave Michigan State slotted at number 7? Does Kansas State overtake Michigan State? Now, I don't think the Wildcats are that good, and I know everybody's down on the Big 10, but I think the Spartans are actually better than Kansas State. And Notre Dame was sitting at number 10 last week. When you barely beat Navy, I didn't think you were a top 10 team anyway. So anyway, hey, college football, as I said, that'll dominate the conversation, but we're here to talk about the NFL. Quick congratulations going out, however, to Jeff Benton, who yesterday cashed in with the third ever 200-dime release of his career. Duke outright in overtime at Pittsburgh on Saturday, so props going out to him. A couple of big plays for you to be aware of today. Steve Buden's Cali Cartel, the number 1 football crew for Steve this season, 100-dime NFL winner, number 7 out of 8, Denver and New England. 13-4-1 start in football this season, college and pro, including 7-1-1 in the NFL, and this is 100-time NFL winner, number 7 out of 8. You save $70 by using coupon code CALI, C-A-L-I, Cali Cartel, Cali, C-A-L-I. Save $70. By the way, this is twice as strong as their 50-time college winner, number 6 out of 8 yesterday with Georgia Tech pummeling Virginia 35-10, a play that you got for $34, saving $75 off the regular price. Now, as for me, I told you TCU was the team I was in love with. Once the weather got me off of it, I naturally found my second favorite team, and I unloaded on it. And you probably thought I was crazy. But I told you, Baylor, 35 points, no issues with Kansas. A Kansas team that, was pathetic offensively this season and didn't have the horses to take on Baylor in Waco, especially with Bears coming off the bye after they blew that game at West Virginia the week prior. Well, Baylor comes up and rolls 60-14. You got that winner for $29, saving $80 off the regular price. It was a 15-dime play, of which, of course, they are my normal top-rated plays. I've got another one going here today as I go for winning day, number 45 out of 70 and 15 out of 21. It's my 15-dime bounce-back blowout, just like yesterday. I'm taking a team that's coming off a loss, and I think they bounce back with the easy double-digit win and cover today. 30-11 run with 10-dime plays over the past 9 weeks, and this play is just as 50% stronger, so I get my math right. And listen, you're going to save $80 in the process and get it for just $39 by using coupon code AL39, AL39. Oh, God, how did I forget to mention this? Scott Delaney, guys, second ever 200-dime NFL play of his career, Tampa Bay and Cleveland. The first ever 200-dime NFL play of his career was San Diego and Denver. He had the Broncos 2 Thursday nights ago. You got that play for $49, a savings of $60 off the regular price. Same deal goes today. Save $60, use coupon code SCOTT, just his first name, Scott. And look for your Sunday night game, Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels, by the way, is the winningest football handicapper here at the site. Pro and college football combined, past 5 years. $10 bettors up $29,805. The last 19 months, he's the winningest handicapper at this site in all sports combined, $10 bettors up over 23 grand. 50 times Sunday night mismatch of the year, Ravens Steelers side, save $77. You get it for $22 by using coupon code SEAN22. SEAN22. So all your other promos, there's a couple of big totals from Benton and DuPont, who both won yesterday. All that other stuff is over on the homepage. Let's get to your free selections here. I'm going to start with my opinion on this Sunday night game. Listen, I know that the Ravens have owned this series, and I know the Ravens have owned this series at Heinz Field as well. And I also know that this has certainly been a close series too. But You know what? I like the Steelers here tonight. And I know one game doesn't make a season, but one game can certainly turn around your season. The Steelers are a flawed team, especially defensively. They ain't stopping anybody, okay? They could barely stop Andrew Luck even after jumping out to the big lead last week. But I liked a couple of things that the Steelers did. They were so aggressive against the Colts last week in terms of their offense, and that's why Ben Roethlisberger had the 522-yard passing performance. It is why the Steelers had the ball for nearly 40 minutes against the Colts, a Colts team that had a time of possession of almost, I think, 34 minutes, which was leading the NFL coming into that game. And they bushwhacked the Colts. I mean, Colts had won 5 in a row and just given up an average of 15 points a game. And here, Pittsburgh just was going crazy. So Roethlisberger is playing with confidence. He's got a bevy of good wide receivers to go on attack. And this is a big revenge game for them because the Ravens rolled in week number 2 in Baltimore 26-6. Now, they ran for 157 yards in that game. And Bernard Pierce got like 96 of them, and he's not even the featured back anymore. And the Steelers still can't stop anybody defensively. But instead of seeing your typical 24-20, 17-14 type of game between these two, I think this one's going to go over. But I really like the Steelers to win the game outright, and they're getting 1.5 to 2 points in this game. So I'm going to go with Pittsburgh in that contest. Your next free play, I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs, minus the 9. 9.5 at home against the Jets. Listen, I was on the Jets last week. Do you think there's any way in hell that I'm coming back with the Jets today, even getting 9.5 to 10 points? I don't care if Geno Smith, Michael Vick, or Joe Namath comes out of retirement and quarterbacks the Jets today. I got to take a shot with Kansas City. Although, even though the Chiefs, their last 2 home games, pummeled the Patriots in that Monday nighter, took care of business last week 34-7 over injury-riddled St. Louis, they are still only 3-6 against the spread at home during Andy Reid's tenure. But Kansas City's on a nice 5-0-1 ATS run. Jets have lost 7 in a row. They've allowed at least 27 points in 6 of those 7 losses. 3 of their last 4 games, they've allowed 31 points or more. Kansas City's getting a little healthier on defense. Strong safety Eric Berry back for his first appearance since week number 2. They got the strong 2-headed ground game of Jamal Charles and Niall Davis. And they've got a very efficient Alex Smith, who, despite some physical woes, had a great game last week against St. Louis. So I'm going to go with them, Kansas City in this spot. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take San Diego in what I think is a must-win game for the Chargers after 2 consecutive losses, as they got crushed at Denver and lost at home 2 Sundays ago to Kansas City. Those 2 losses were preceded by a 5-game winning streak. Miami, I'm just not convinced. I mean, really, I'm just not convinced. Yeah, the Dolphins have won 3 of their last 4 games. Who did they beat? The Raiders in London, the Bears in Chicago, and the Jaguars. Who did they lose to? Last home game, Packers. Touchdown pass, Aaron Rodgers, 3 seconds to play. Won the game. Now, they shoulda, coulda, and probably would have won that game if you played it 9 times out of 10, but they didn't. So I'm going to go with the Chargers. You're getting 1.5 to 2 points. Hey, FYI trivia fans, just in case you happen to be on Jeopardy here soon and you need the answer to this one. The last time the Chargers won in Miami, because they've lost 7 straight games in Miami, 1981. The incredible OT playoff game that Kellen Winslow went bonkers with. Yep, that was the last time. 33 years ago. If you remember that game, you certainly feel old now. And it's a little bit of a revenge game for the Chargers because they lost 20-16 in week number 11 to Miami. But again, I'm just not sure Miami is the real deal. So I'm willing to take the Chargers as a slight road dog. Pittsburgh is a slight home dog. And the other free play, Kansas City, is the big home chalk because I hate the Jets. Good luck, everybody.